Good evening and welcome. Arlene Connelly-Drummond here. And I'm so happy that you've taken time to join me this evening for Slow It Down Sundays. Yes, we are slowing it down. So thank you for joining us. I see those of you who are coming in. Come on in. Join me in this space. As you can see, I am in my relaxed zone. I'm in my relaxed space, surrounded by my comfy pillows, my fuzzy blanket. I have my water. I have my cup with my tea, and I have put my computer and the mouse to the side, and I have my journal here, and I'm just ready to have a conversation and spend some time with you. So for the next 30 minutes, we're going to just enjoy this moment that we are pausing to slow it down. So why are we here? So many of you may have saw my invitation. You may have seen last week's post. And I just want to give you a little recap as to what has brought me to this place. So as I mentioned before, I've been hearing in my spirit that I need to change the pace of my movement. Over about a year and a half ago, God gave me a word. He gave me the word stride. And I've been working that word. I've been marinating and meditating on that word. And he keeps revealing and downloading and giving me clarity. But the number one piece of statement that God gave me was that we need to change the pace of our movement. Otherwise, we will not endure to the end. So I don't know about you, but there are so many of us who are operating from the place of exhaustion. We are overcommitted, overworked. We have just a lot of things going on, and there's a need for us to pause. So this pause is a strategic pause, which is what I'm going to talk to you about today. How do we strategically pause so that our action steps are intentional? I've invited you to Slow It Down Sundays. And so you may be thinking, Arlene, you just said slow it down. Now you're talking about strategy. In order for us to execute anything we want to experience or we want to accomplish, we need to have a strategy, right? We're not just going to hope for it. So I know many times that I hear people give me great advice and it sounds great, but they leave me hanging. Well, how do I do that? How do I make that real for myself? So I really want to make sure as we're going through this process that we're experiencing it together. Because I'll tell you, this whole thing about slowing it down, I'm on the journey and I'm inviting you on this journey with me because I'm still working this through. How do I slow it down with the many hats that I wear, with the so many things that I'm doing, so that I can be intentional with my time and ensure that I am freeing up myself so that I can hear from the Lord, that I can do what we're doing right now. We are pausing to refresh, to recalibrate, to rejuvenate, to restore, to replenish, to revive, and to plan. What are we going to do next, right? How are we going to move forward in our next week? What does our next week look like, right? And so if we don't take time to slow it down, what we find ourselves doing is we're being reactionary. And I don't know about you, the last time I was reactionary, the outcome was not so good, right? So I really like to be intentional with my actions. And so in slowing down, it allows me to recalibrate and really realign my actions and ensure that I'm doing things that are in alignment with my purpose, with God's calling for my life, and ensuring that I'm doing what matters most to me. And, so often we are so busy, pulled in so many different directions by various commitments, our obligations, and things we've said yes to that we know we probably shouldn't have. And then probably regretting it later because it's pulling so much and it's demanding so much from us. And so I am really wanting to make sure that when we say yes, we feel good about the yes. When we say no, we're at peace with the no's, because we have been so clear, and we are so clear about what matters to us, that we can make decisions that ensure that we are operating in our purpose. So I am excited to welcome you to Slow It Down Sundays. Let's talk about this. Let's talk about what it does it mean to take strategic steps that aligns with your path and your purpose, right? So I've invited you and I said, let's do this thing called Slow It Down, right? I'm in my comfy space, guys, and I'm feeling good. Do I do this often on a Sunday? Not often enough. But I want to make this habitual. I want to make this something that I do that becomes a consistent habit, right? Because you know what? This is a good habit to have. Our society tells us that we need to grind, we need to hustle, we need to operate to the level. Sometimes we're exhausted and depleted. But there is a benefit. We know that there's a benefit to rest. There's also a benefit to slowing it down, right? So as I walk us through this process and we go through these every Sunday, we're going to come into this space and we're going to learn and grow together. We're going to test out some things and see what works until we have a rhythm that's working for us. It's going to be a rhythm for everyone, something different, right? So like for me right now, today, I am on my futon. I'm in my office space and I'm relaxed. My office space has space for me to relax, right? You may be on your patio. You may be on your sofa. But you may be in your office. Some of you may be catching that quiet moment in your car. Wherever works for you, that allows you to find space, to pause, to breathe, to release, right? Some of that stress, some of that pent-up anxiety, and just have breath. Wherever you can find that space for you that does that. Some of you may say, Arlene, it's my bathroom. 30 minutes in my bathroom will do it for me. Whatever, do it for you. Find your space. Okay? So you have to find your physical space. But I'm also inviting you to find your mental space where you are not feeling like you are many of us are doing things and we feel that we have to apologize, or we feel guilty, right, for taking some time for ourselves because we have so many different things that's demanding our time. But I shared with you before that this is a gift that you give to yourself, and it's a gift that you give to your loved ones as well. Because anytime we take care of us, we are showing up better to be present for everyone else, right? So this is a gift when we slow it down. So let's talk about how do we do that? How do we do that? I don't want to do what many people do. They tell us to do something, but we don't know how. Last week, I told you to do a time check, do a time audit and see how you're using your time. How many of you did that? And if you haven't done it, I invite you to do it. Take a time audit so you can see how you're using your time. And are the things that you are assigning time to the things that are most important to you, the things that you value, the things that align with your calling or your purpose? Are they? And if they're not, the question is, why are you doing them? Are they things that you can defer to someone else or taken off your plate? Right? Think about that. Do your time audit, because we have to be able to assign this 30 minutes that we are taking today to make sure that in your day, in your week, you are finding time to pause, right? And I'll say it should be at least 30 minutes every day. But right now, we're going to try baby steps. So we're starting with 30 minutes once a week, right? And I know some of you may be saying, what, like think about it. You tell me in a whole 24 hours of the day, I can't find 30 minutes for just for myself to refresh, to recalibrate, to reassess what I'm doing, how I'm journeying through life. In the hecticness of many of our days, finding 30 minutes is a challenge. But I encourage you, when we put our mind in alignment with what we want to achieve, we find a way, the strategy, the approach to make it happen. So, identify a physical space for yourself. Then I want you to think about mentally. How do you create the opportunity mentally for you to pause, right? For you to not feel guilty, for you to recognize that this is a gift that you're giving to yourself and those you care about, right? Put your mind in that space, right? I put my mind in that space today, that this sitting down and just breathing, being with my journal, allowing myself just to hear my thoughts. I don't have the TV on. I may have had music on. I don't have music on today because mellow music soothes the soul, right? But create your space for yourself. Do that. That's one of your, I'm going to give you a little assignment. That's one of your assignments, right? Do that for yourself. And you know what we're doing as well? I will say this, that if you're a parent, you're leading a family and you're in a household, showing your kids how you live and how you do life well, that's part of your parenting, right? So teaching them how to take strategic pauses and being intentional with their time, you're teaching them a valuable gift. You're giving them a valuable lesson, right? That they will learn better when they see you practice it, right? So I'm inviting you, practice it. Then show them, as you're practicing, show them, hey, Sundays by 7 o'clock, we're going to be winding it down, right? We're going to be doing that as a family. And then you may find with your spouse, you're finding that time and you're creating that space to wind it down. This wind down time is a check-in moment, right? I get to check in with myself if I'm doing it for myself at the time, but you can create that wind down moments to check in with your children, to check in with your spouse, right? To sit and have a cup of tea, a glass of wine, to sit and just have conversation, something that we're not doing much anymore, right? Not necessarily watching a movie or anything like that, but just being together. That thing we were doing during the pandemic when we had to slow it down. Let's do that a little bit more. So what did I tell you? Number 1, create space. Number 2, get your mind right, right? And then the other thing we're going to do is, in being strategic, right? What are the things that I want to think about during this time, or the things that I want to do? For some of us, it may be, I just want to rest. And my rest is just being quiet and just being still. Sometimes we're so fidgety, to slow down for 30 minutes is a challenge. I put my phone on do not disturb for 30 minutes. What a concept. Imagine not taking calls. That's okay. You can return the calls after you've taken your time for you, right? Okay. So we're going to do some things right now that I want you to, if you have your journal, and for those of you who don't, take a notebook, take a pen and paper, but I encourage you to get a journal so that you can capture and track this journey that you're on. Okay? We're going to journey together. I'm doing this with you. I'm learning how to slow it down, and I'm embracing the moment of slowing it down, right? So now that we've found our space, we've gotten our mind straight, right? We have our tools. We need some tools. Tools are important. So your journal, your favorite pen, so that you can take notes. You can write down what may run through your brain, or you may use the time to unpack some things. So many of us carry so much in our heads, too much in our heads, right? And I encourage us to declutter our minds, right? Declutter your mind by unpacking all the thoughts, all the things that's going through your mind, your mental to-do list. Take that mental to-do list and put it down on paper. Okay? So why don't you take some time while we're sitting here and Slow It Down Sunday, get your journal out and unpack some things, what I would call your to-do list for the week ahead, or even those things last week that you didn't finish, that you're already building up anxiety about into next week, right? Into the coming week. Let's unpack those things. What are the things from last week we have to bring forward? Are they requiring to bring forward, or are they things that we can redirect to someone else, right? If they are on our own to-do list, then if we're going to carry it forward, where on the list will it go in the list of priorities, right? What are the things that I must do this week that are in alignment with my purpose, that are in alignment with my priorities, that are in alignment with what matters most to me? When last have you really sat down and checked in? Am I doing the things that are my highest value? The things that matters most to me, the things that are my most important priorities. When you ask me what's my most important priorities, my time with God, my relationship with the Lord, that's an important priority. Am I spending time in prayer? Am I spending time in worship? Am I spending time listening to the Lord? Am I being intentional about it? Have I given God space and time in my busy schedule? Am I doing that consistently? Sometimes the answer is no, right? But because I have made it and I'm reminding myself that that is a priority. So now I have to make sure if I said that, is it on my action steps of things that I'm doing in my day? Is it? The other thing that's important to me is my relationships. Relationships matter to me. And there are core relationships that are critical to me. My relationship, I've said, with God, my relationship with my husband and my family. They matter to me. Am I spending time nurturing those? Right? Are they on my priority list? Or are we just busy on the to-do list of the things that are outside of our priority? Right? So work for us is important. Those of you who are, whether you're a business owner or you're working for someone, our jobs are important to us, right? Because they are a means to earn the resources to do what? Take care of what matters most, right? But how many of us have made it a priority over the things that are most important? That we put our children and our family and our spouse beneath the job. So just think about that. If you've done that, maybe consciously or subconsciously that you may have done that, this is the time as we slow it down and check in with ourselves, we get to see, what have I been prioritizing? What has been consuming most of my time? And are those the things I want to consume my time? Right? And make sure we're making your list. So have you made your list? I hope you've made your list. Okay? It's a start. Even if you put 5 things down and say, these are 5 things that I need to do, I need to focus on, I need to get accomplished this week. These are the priorities that are coming up this week. These are the obligations or commitments that are coming up this week. You know, what are those things, right? So I'm writing those things down so I can see that this week I have some key important meetings that I need to go to. I have some deadlines for some manuscripts and some projects and things that I have to get done. I have a big event coming up on Sunday. So there's some things that are happening in my week ahead that I am already thinking about, right? So now if I was able to clear my head by putting those things down on paper and deciding what actions do I need to take for any of those items, okay? And then I write them down. By when do I need to complete any of those items, right? Are there other people I can invite to help me with any of those tasks or things that I need to get done? How do I manage those things? And have I left space for the things that just may pop up during the week because they do, right? How am I aligning that? So if I have done a good job by unpacking my brain, what does that do for me? It allows me to have space for all the great things that this brain works up on a daily, weekly basis. It gives me space, right? Because if your space is cluttered, can you really be creative in a cluttered space? It is very difficult, right? So when your brain is clear, you're allowing yourself room for new ideas, for creative thinking, for innovation, to be even more strategic, for being creative. Oh my goodness, the things that could happen when you slow it down. I'm going to ask you this, and let's see who responds in the chat. When you're in the shower, is that a space where you get a lot of creative ideas and thoughts come in your head? Right? I know it happens for me. I'm in the shower and I get all these different things. Why does that happen? It's because we are finally slowing it down. When we're in the shower, when we're actually being deliberate and intentional in that moment of just cleansing ourselves for the day. It's a refreshing time and it allows us to have some creative ideas. So, did you think about your space? Have you given yourself permission to slow it down? Right? And have you started the process of taking all the thoughts that are in your head and putting it down on paper so that you can declutter your mind? I'm so happy that many of you are doing that, right? So now the other thing that we can do as we try to slow it down, not try, let's change that. We're not going to try. We're doing this thing. We're doing it little steps at a time, right? So my thing for this week is to challenge you. I challenge you as we're stepping into this new week, right? To create intentional moments for you to have time for reflection, to recalibrate yourself, to refocus, especially if you know you have important decisions and things you need to accomplish. Really just take some downtime before you act, before you move, to really think so that you can be intentional, you can be strategic in your actions. This is so critical. We will not allow ourselves to be driven by the world's agenda, by other people's agenda, but we're going to make sure that our agenda is front, center, and part of our focus. And we make sure that as we're doing that, the peripheral of other things need to align with those things that matters most to us, right? So I am not seeking to be a reactionary life. I don't want that. I don't want that for me. I don't want that for you, right? We are going to be responsive. We're going to be intentional. We're going to be focused, and we're going to allow ourselves to be the best and highest version of ourselves because we are taking more time for self-care. Many people, when they hear that word, they think it's just bubble baths and, massages. But that self-care is not just that. It is how we are thinking about our lives and giving ourselves the permission to recognize the importance of us. There's only one you. There's only one me. And the time we spent today, the 24 hours we were given today, we don't get it back, right? So how we use this is so critical. And I want to take charge, and I want to have a little bit sense of greater control to know that when I look and I see that it's 7:00 in the evening on a Sunday, I'm not saying to myself, where did the day go? I don't want to do that anymore. I want to be able to say, it is 7:00 on a Sunday. I had a phenomenal week. I accomplished some major things on my list. I had some fun. I had some joy. I spent great time with people that I love. I accomplished some goals. I took time for breath. I had time for a walk. I reconnected with individuals. I worked on my book. I worked on my goals. I want to be able to say that. And it's 7:00 on a Sunday. And I took time to relax. I took time to refresh, to renew, and to recalibrate my thoughts so that I can be positioned for the week ahead. That's what Slow It Down Sundays is about. Because if I am rushing into the new week, I am already in a state potentially of higher anxiety. And that clouds and impacts my ability to think clearly, to make sound decisions, and to move with my life with greater sense of peace and greater sense of purpose. Peace is important to me. I hope it's as important to you, that we operate in a place of peace. I love peace. This tranquility that I feel in my space, this is a happy moment for me. I get to squeeze my comfy pillow. I love it. But if I don't pause, I won't get to do that. And then I'm operating depleted. I don't want to operate depleted. I don't want to feel so exhausted that the minute I sit down, I fall asleep. That's been my reality, guys. The minute I slow down, I crash. And I don't want to do that anymore. I want to be able to slow down and experience the slowdown, the joy of the slowdown, right? I want to savor it. How about you? Are you feeling this? Do you want to savor this time and this moment? So what are we doing today? We are slowing it down. We are being strategic about it, right? We're making sure our action steps align with the decision we made. If you've joined me in this space, you said, I want to practice slowing it down too. And so if we're going to practice that, we need strategy, right? And we're going to work this thing. We're going to practice this thing, and we're going to see what comes up for each and every one of us as we begin to slow it down. So look out for our next episode next week, Sunday, where we will tap into another area of what it takes to slow it down and what this experience is like as we're practicing this. We're doing this in real time, real life. We're doing this, right? And so as we're doing it, I'm inviting you to invite a friend to come and do it with us. Bring your family or whoever you feel is important, who needs to slow it down, so that we can do Slow It Down Sundays together, right? This is what we do. I am Arlene Connelly-Drummond, your president and CEO of ISEE Group, your stride coach, your consultant, the person who comes alongside you to support you on the journey of intentional living. Welcome. Thank you for being part of Slow It Down Sunday, for joining me on this journey, and for embracing the opportunity for living our lives with intention. Thank you all for joining me on this stride, that I really embrace the opportunity to slow it down. Tune in. You'll hear more. You'll see more as we work and grow together. I want you to have a phenomenal week because you took advantage of this pause to slow it down. Thank you for joining. See you next week on Slow It Down Sundays. Take care.